I had a beautiful life, and there were some pretty crazy spots to it. So I lived in a dysfunctional home. My dad can be amazing, and on the complete flip side, he can be the exact opposite of that. So when things were great, they were awesome, and when things weren't, boy, they weren't. And it was kind of like living in a minefield in a playground. So like everything's great and wonderful, and then boom, you step on it, and then it's like booby trap. The bomb went off, and there was no coming back.
Welcome to the Beautifully Becoming community. This is a sacred space for honest, faith-rooted conversations that encourage healing, inspire growth, and help you step into the person God is shaping you to be.
It's such a privilege to have you on. I just really want to officially welcome you.
Thank you so much, Noble. You are just a delight and a joy to be around. And I love the fact that you are so perfect the way you are. I just find you amazing. You're imperfectly perfect, and I love it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Honestly, if you are listening, Dr. Andrea Adams Miller, she is amazing. She's an award-winning international keynote speaker. I'm actually reading her bio right now. I just really want to say that she's a highly sought-after speaker. She is a best-selling author. She's a CEO of the Red Carpet Connection Publicity. She is incredible. She has an amazing bio. I am going to be putting it on the show notes. But one of the things I just want to say that, she has she's been featured in CNN, WebMD, ABC, NBC, CBS. Honestly, she's just all over the place doing an amazing job impacting life. And we are so thrilled. We are so excited. But you don't know how excited I am to have you on this show. And once again, I want to say welcome.
Well, I'm very honored. Thank you. I love your smile. You got a great smile.
Okay. Thank you so much. We're just going to roll right in. And I just really want you to, let the audience meet with you. Tell us all of these amazing things, because I really don't want to read your bio and then, have you talk about it again. So,
Totally okay with that.
All of these amazing things you're doing, and those good stuff.
Well, a lot of that stuff came because I was broken, and I grew up myself, and I had a beautiful life, and there were some pretty crazy spots to it. So I lived in a dysfunctional home. My dad can be amazing, and on the complete flip side, he can be the exact opposite of that. So when things were great, they were awesome, and when things weren't, boy, they weren't. And it was kind of like living in a minefield in a playground. So like everything's great and wonderful, and then boom, you step on it, and then it's like booby trap. The bomb went off, and there was no coming back. And the shrapnel was pretty hard. And when I say shrapnel, I mean the stories that I kept in my head. Whether he, was angry or said certain things at me or my mom, I took those things on and kept them inside and allowed them to affect me my whole life, sometimes very negatively and sometimes in positive ways. So the positive is that I felt like I needed to be more because I needed to be better. And so it strove for more education, more information. And in fact, my husband jokes now, he's like, oh my gosh, another thing. He makes fun of me. He's like, if you get one more certification or degree, you're going to have to, how people pull out a wallet. He said, yours will go, and fall to the ground. You have so many letters behind your name. And, so that is kind of funny and that's true. And at the same time, I'm so gifted to want to learn and to know more and to be more and to constantly strive to hone my craft and to know who I am. So
absolutely. Wow, that is, I'm just really kind of thrilled. And I really want to put this question to client or the audience, listening, and they just want to be more, they want to do more, they want to have more, but it feels like something is stopping them. It feels like one step forward, two step backward. I can't do this anymore, I'm just tired, I want them to learn from, your great wealth of wisdom, and just really tell them, like, how can they continue to be persistent and consistent in pursuing their dreams or pursuing their goals, or just, being who they want to be and being their authentic self. So we want to learn from your great wealth of wisdom.
Well, thank you. There's an ebb and flow. I have my moments as well, and we have to realize that what I realize now, what I didn't know before, is that there were specific things that triggered me. And I didn't know that I could release those things and let them go. I mean, I guess I knew I was aware of it. Like, I've heard that before, but to be able to actually do it and implement that, it came through knowledge. And that really came from me with a lot of personal development. And then with hypnosis and NLP, and there's a whole bunch of other methodologies that I've used throughout the years. And then now I own my own institute as well. It's called the Subconscious Connection Institute for Business and Personal Development. And we have different courses for people so that they can also work with practitioners so that they can have neuro-linguistic programming, by the way, is the use of words to help guide our mind to see reality differently so that they can show up and let go of things. So, for example, we can go back into the past and see things that happened, that hurt us, that made us upset, that trigger us today, that still cause us to respond in such a way that we don't want to respond anymore, whether it's sadness, grief, anger, frustration, hurt, guilt, shame, anything like that. We're able to get the learnings from that situation and then apply those learnings along our pathway so that we no longer have to feel that way. And we're still aware that it happens, but we don't have to be in the emotion of it anymore or let it trigger us anymore. And that's a huge gift when all of a sudden that's not the trigger anymore.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just really kind of like using our mistakes as a stepping stone, right? Tell me
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, and I have a different view of well, I always thought mistakes. I never really liked the idea that mistakes were mistakes or failure was failure or like debt is debt. In my mind, a debt is an investment in me, even if it was like a bad deal, like where I've had situations where I paid money for something and didn't go well, or an investment that failed and that project didn't go, so we didn't make any money. They were all learning lessons. And so maybe I didn't get the academic accolade. I didn't get to put any letters behind my name for it, but maybe we should, because when, like I had a friend who just recently shared with me, he had over $500,000 embezzled from somebody in his company and changed his whole world. And I said, that was a huge investment for a learning lesson on how you do business now. And he's like, wow, I never thought of it that way. Rather than looking at it as being a victim, as that was a different way to learn. Might have been more fun to do it a different way, but it was still a lesson. And if we can take from that and learn from it and spin it to the positive, it just changes how we look at things.
Oh wow, honestly, this is really like, changing my perspective, with regards to, looking at my mistake. And how many of us have been in that place, buried in that thought of beating ourselves up and just, crying and whining and complaining because we made a mistake, we did something, and then we, and that place is really like, it's a terrible place to be in, it's a terrible world to be in. Instead of picking the lesson from it the way you described it, sometimes you tend to be in that web. And I want to ask you questions about mistakes. Have you had mistakes in the past? And how did you really how did you navigate through that particular mistake using it as a stepping stone?
Well, my view of mistakes now is that failures and mistakes are only feedback. So it just meant that I didn't get it right that time and that I could do it differently. And so when I have less attachment to it, I don't get as upset about it. So in fact, sometimes I don't even get upset at all. So like, for example, okay, I'll give you something small and then we can go to some deeper, bigger things. So I travel a lot, and I was gone for months on end. In fact, I've only been home like 2 weeks right now, since the beginning of this year, and I was only home 21 days in 4.5 months, and I had gotten some toll violations that didn't get paid because I didn't get them in the mail, and I didn't even know I was on a toll road. So anyhow, didn't get paid, and it actually like sent it to, like sent it and sent it, and then they like sent it to collections, like a $3 toll bill. And I could have been upset. I could have cussed. I could have thrown a storm. I could have called them and been angry or whatever. And instead, I just was like, oh, huh. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to put something in place next time, or ask people to open my mail for me so that that can be taken care of. And then I just took care of it. It's not a big deal. And then I wrote and said, hey, can we possibly have this taken off, because as soon as I did get the notice, it's paid and taken care of. And if they do, they do, and if they don't, they don't. It happens. It's not a big deal. And at the same time, I heard somebody the other day who reacted so upset over something like that, over a $20 mistake that dinged them for something silly or whatever, missed a credit card thing or whatever. And they broke down that it was like the worst thing in the world, and in a way, and it can be what we make it. Did it really need that much angst? What was it that really was that really that big of a deal, or was it a catalyst about something else that had nothing to do with that at all? And often that's what it is. If we're getting upset over really little things, it's probably that there's something else going on that's been from our past, maybe from our childhood, maybe even before our childhood. That's one of the cool things about all of this. And for people who don't believe that, like people are like, oh, you can't have something carry, epigenetics is not a reality to them. Then my thought is like, well, it's whether it's real or not real, our mind doesn't always know the difference between whether we dreamt something or we believe it to be true. So just play it like a game and allow the game to play out, and then release whatever's coming up for you within that game. So if you know that you're responding to a bill or something, it's because maybe you were told you were bad with money. And so now this to you in your eyes is, oh, this means I'm bad with money. And it actually doesn't. It just means a piece of paper came that tells you that someone else didn't see a money transaction happen. That's all it meant. It didn't have any story to it. The paper had no emotion. It was just, here's a piece of paper for something that didn't see a payment, and then here's a payment that didn't happen. And then when you make it happen, then the paper goes away. It's gone. But it's us who puts all the emotion into it.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Text messages, by the way. I just recently did this for myself. I did a NLP hypnosis practice on myself. And by the way, hypnosis and NLP, we don't change you. We can only guide you with our language, and you decide whether you want to change how you feel, think, or believe, or to release something. If it serves you, you won't let it go. You'll be attached to it, and you'll keep it until you're ready till it doesn't serve you anymore. But for me, I noticed that sometimes people would write a text message and I would respond to it. Like I would get upset or offended or hurt. I would read into a message, even if it was a message that was mean. Like it's pretty clear. Like if someone calls you a name or something, or is frustrated with you, if you're having a beef with someone, it's pretty obvious that that was said with meanness. But I released for myself that anything that comes in print, whether it's an email or a text or a chat message or something like that, it has absolutely, what it means to me now is, look, there are some nouns with some adjectives and some verbs, and they're strung together with some connections and some pronouns. And I take all of the meaning out of it.
Wow.
It's just words. It's just words on paper. And the meaning is what I make it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then if you see that they're mean words, you think, wow, that person was very upset when they chose those words.
Mm,
Instead of saying something about yourself, you
mm.
now can say, wow, that person must have been in a ripe mood or a weird mood or a funny mood, depending on the context of the message. And that way, then you're not reading into it. And it doesn't have to be more than what it is.
Wow. I just really like, oh my goodness. Thank you so much for this analogy. Can you touch on, self love? Why is that important to us?
Well, it's definitely important. I realized that I didn't have self love. I mean, on one hand, I did because people for years have been, I would have people say, "Oh, Andrea, I wish I had the confidence you have." And I'm obviously a heavier woman. You can tell by looking at me that I'm plus size, and yet I have really good body confidence and so forth. And I'd like to be thinner, but not enough to eat less or exercise. So I have to accept that this is the way I look and be happy with me. And I didn't always have the confidence. I always had some level of confidence, but not the confidence that I do now. And you can tell by the people that I was inviting into my life, like into business, and the people that I dated and married and so forth, that there were some people in my world that I would attract that were wonderful, amazing people, great heart, great spirit. And then there was another part of me that attracted people that were able to, um, love bomb me and tell me wonderful things and have me all just so happy to hear good stuff about myself, that I just fell into people pleasing them and then set them up in a way where then when I felt like I was overextended and over taken care of and over giving my time, money, and resources, then I was surprised that they were angry and pushed back. Like, well, of course they were, because I had set up the relationship that way. So I take responsibility for how my relationships went, because I was looking for, I had, as a child, because I had accepted that that was acceptable to be
Mm,
treated or talked to poorly, then I was attracting people who would do that. And I actually turned away a lot of the people who talked to me really well, because in my head, love was somebody who was so passionate that they would be angry and demonstrative, both loving and mean, because that must be love. That must be commitment. That must be passion, whether it was a business partner or a love partner or even some friends. And it's so funny because it was kind of like a 50-50, a crapshoot but often I turn away the people who were really nice to me, because I felt like I was cared for more by the people who treated me poorly. So I didn't know how to love myself. And so as I've come into myself more, I realized that I I don't wouldn't treat them that way because I care about them too much. So I have to care about me that way, so I don't allow me to treat myself like that, and I
mm.
don't allow other people to treat me like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because we cannot really give what we don't have. We have to love ourselves first
Yeah.
before we can effectively and efficiently love someone else. That is good. That is amazing. And let's really talk about like the amazing job you do. Let's talk about all the good stuff you do, and um, tell me more about all the things you're doing.
Oh
And
yeah. So I'm. So we this last year, someone kind of summed up my whole life. They're like, you're the 911 for 411, and I'm like, wow, you really put that clear. So I started my career as a teenager in law enforcement. I liked and was interested in being a law enforcement, and then I got a job in security, and then at the sheriff's department, then at the police department, at 18, 19 years old. And with those jobs, I took on a lot of responsibility, and I got to hear things like domestic violence and murder from both sides, because at the police department, I was taking the calls as a 911 emergency dispatcher, and then at the sheriff's department as a corrections officer, I had 125 men in my ward that I was, making sure that they were safe. And, I would hear their points of view of how they showed up and how they viewed things and how they talked to their partners on the phone and, what they were in for, their crimes and stuff. And I realized that there was more. There was something more to the world and how things could be. And I ended up leaving law enforcement and opened up a practice called Ignite Your Relationships, which I still own. It's a relationship business with intimacy and relationships as far as sexuality and a little deeper, more information there to help people have good communications in their relationship. It's a topic that I was comfortable with. And then I also got a lot of notoriety from that business. I worked with a lot of celebrities. I even traveled with some celebrities with them so they wouldn't fight on their vacations. Hysterical. And from that, I was on 2020 and CNN and got some other notoriety. And so from that, people started asking me to help them with publicity. So then I started doing publicity for other people and helping them get on radio and television. Because I started my career when the internet was just becoming public, where people could have dial-up, and AOL and Juno were the way we got online, and we all had dial-up, and we still had phones that were on the wall. That was the only way we got on the computer. And then now, it's only been I'm trying to remember what year that 30 years ago. So 30 years ago is when I started this. And in 30 years it's totally different now, where everything's on the computer. But so I still help people with publicity as well. But because of all of that, because I also traveled the world and became an international speaker at 16 with my Girl Scout troop and stuff like that, I've done that consistently throughout my life. I met a lot of people. So I have what's called a $12 billion Rolodex. And it's because the people I meet, they have great wealth. Everybody's at a different level. I meet people that I have friends who are homeless, and I have friends who are multi-billionaires. So it's from one range to the other, and all of them are equally valuable to me and important to me because I've learned so much from all of them, and all of them are a really great resource. And even though I kind of did some numbers and figured out it's an average of like 12 billion as far as a Rolodex, as far as money, but far as richness, it's priceless. The quality of people and what they have to share, their stories, their anecdotes, their knowledge, their pain, their struggles. It's just a wealth of gold to know all these people in the world. And so now that's why the 411 comes, is that I have a lot of knowledge myself, multiple education and multiple career, as far as all these different avenues that I've mastered and been able to speak on and share. And so it's that wealth of information that I bring together to create great awesomeness for people and create a better world.
Absolutely. Oh my, wow.
I have a free gift for everyone as well. If they go to theredcarpetconnection.com/free gifts, there's different gifts that are put up there periodically, so you might want to check back. Right now, I have a book and a master class that's on artificial intelligence and relationships, business relationships and personal relationships. We also have a ebook there that's on your super VA, building your super VA. And then I'll be having another class that'll be coming up at some point here, and I'll make sure it's up for your audience, is so that people can be invited to other master classes that are specifically about relationships, and then other classes that are about a connection to self. So it's using NLP and hypnosis for yourself to become a better person and be a better experience of you, because I want people to be able to have kind of like a summary of information. I've spent years of learning all of this information, and I don't want people to have to suffer to learn. Let's give it to them in a way that makes it easier. I've done the hard work already, and some of it I give away for free. And then if people are really wanting to do a deep dive for themselves, it's so worth it. I came out of my training so that I could have my own institute, and I felt like I had learned more work than if I'd studied to be a brain surgeon, and I give our brain surgeons a lot of credit and a lot of work for what they do, because, and there's the inner work and the outer work, so there's like actual surgery where you need medically to fix things, and then there's the internal, the thoughts and the knowledge and the wisdom that we guide people to, so that they can be a better person. And it literally changes people's lives. Literally changes, like I have a class where I teach people how they can change their state at any time. Like, let's say it's something, let's say your car breaks down or something like that, and you could be miserable and mad and angry or whatever, or you could push your happy button. Watch what happens when I push mine.
Oh, wow.
The funniest thing ever. We can create that, or so you can change your shift. Or if you wanted to be confident or powerful, my confidence and powerful is also combined in with my happy button. So, like, if I need to be really strong, or if I'm going to be on stage in front of a bigger audience or something, when I spoke in front of 8,000 people, I had to be very confident. So I went in and I did some certain exercises for NLP that I call brain gym, and went up on stage and was able to talk to them in such a way and be confident, because I was able to put myself in a different state of mind by the words and language I use inside of my head.
So
Yeah.
when it comes to this lady who is actually feeling like she did something wrong, she's had like some failed relationship, so it would just be more like
Well, I would put it this way. The first time we learn how to ride a bicycle, or we fall down, we stumble, our foot slips off the pedal. It just isn't so great. So what if relationships was the same way? So you didn't fail a relationship, you just had a practice run. It wasn't it. And if we spent more time playing in our relationships and having a good time instead of trying to make them be something else. I've been married for 27 years with Tom. He's my second husband, and he's a beautiful man. And we still have our differences, and we still, once in a while. And at the end of the day, we realize that just holds us back from having so much more pleasure and wonderfulness in our life when we allow stupid stuff to get in our way. And so the more I learn about this, the more I don't respond or react when he's having a bad day or a grouchy day, or the more I can show him what I've learned so that he can shift his state, or how I can shift my state so I don't respond to his state, the more we get along, and the more fun it is to be with him, and the more we enjoy our world.
Wow, guys, this is the to-go person you need to connect with, Dr. Andrea. And honestly, I want to ask you this question: what will you tell your younger self? Probably if you know all of the things you know right now, and let's say you know all of these things when you were like much younger, what would you tell your younger Andrea?
Yeah. What I would tell myself, what I have been telling myself, because I actually do go back and talk to myself as a younger person when I see triggers come up, is I say, it'll be okay. This will pass. A million years passes in a second. And this will pass, and this will actually be nothing someday. It seems like a really big deal right now. In a short period of time, it will have been as if it didn't even happen. So instead of being stuck in it, just feel it, know it, and learn from it, and step on, move on. It's okay. And that I'm loved, and that I'm enough, and that I have much to give the world. And so just to be patient.
That is so powerful. And what would be your best advice to my listeners? I know you have an amazing gifts, and I want to encourage everyone to go grab those gifts.
Thanks.
Advice?
Yeah. So my advice would actually come from, I have a nonprofit called the keepsmilingmovement.org. And the Keep Smiling Movement, we save lives with smiles by creating a dose of hope to be resilient no matter the challenge. And a dose of hope means when you smile, you have dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins that flood down, neurotransmitters that make you feel better. And I always say it's kind of like a Band-Aid. You keep putting a Band-Aid on, and eventually every time you look, things are healing. So a smile is like a little Band-Aid all the time, and eventually you're healed. And then when you're healed and you smile, you just feel even better. I mean, think of a kid who loves the Band-Aid when they don't have a boo-boo. They just love their and that's kind of what a smile is for me in my heart. I just feel so happy when I smile and other people smile in return. So to be able to smile and reflect that, and that gives us hope. Hold on, pain eases. and and that helps you get through the struggles. And then when you're not having any struggles, that smile just helps you feel like you can take on the world and do anything. And so the more that we smile, even when we're alone and by ourselves, when no one's looking at us, when you're sitting at your computer and no screen is on, no camera, the advice I have is to smile for no reason.
Oh, smile for no reason. Thank you so much. And I just really want to know, are you accepting new clients? Where can we find you on social media?
I am. You can go to the redcarpetconnection.com. We also have the subconsciousconnection.com. You can reach us either way through either one of those channels. And then we have igniteyourrelationships.com as well. Although they're three different businesses, the core of them is still the same. It's still about relationships. So the relationship with other people, the relationship with businesses, fans, followers, and clients. And then the Institute is about a relationship with yourself. So you can reach out to us. And yes, we are taking clients, and I'm really doing some really great intensive breakthrough sessions right now. They're full day sessions, and it's like going and releasing all of the crap that's been holding you back your whole life, all your anxious thoughts, things that stress you out, any limiting beliefs, limiting decisions, sadness, anger, fear, hurt, guilt, all of that. If you could just have it no longer be an issue, it just makes the world totally change.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Andrea, for coming on. We are so thrilled to have you. Thank you for sharing your great wealth of wisdom. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for spending this time with me and the beautifully becoming community. I pray today's conversation reminded you that your journey has meaning. Your process is sacred, and God is still at work in you.